let's go around the room and let everybody know who you are and what you did on Walking Against the Rain.
Hi, I'm Sophia Eleni and I play Blair in Walking Against the Rain.
Awesome.
Scott Lice, I wrote, directed and co-produced.
I'm Chris, I produced this with Scott.
I'm Mel Morley, I'm the assistant producer and assistant director.
Charlie Vivash and I played the old man.
Awesome. So first of all, this is the last festival shown that we're getting. So I'm so glad that you've let it be shown here at Romford for everyone. How's the run been? Start there.
Very good, very good. We started at Fright Fest last August, US premiered at Nightmares Film Festival in Ohio, is that correct?
Correct.
Then we also done Trieste in Italy, Panic Fest in the US, Romford Horror back in February, and a few other smaller ones in between, and then back here to end it all.
And what's the feedback been like for everyone?
Right, so for me personally,
That was far too
how long we got? No, it's good. I always say, from the offset, I mean, even with the shorts I make, I know I'm not making stuff for everyone. I know it's like very character driven. It's a brand of horror that some people take to, some people don't, and that's fine. If everything was the same, it would be a boring one. So actually, a lot more positive than negative, and especially with the festivals we've played, the support from festival directors like with Spencer here at Romford, and just having those people kind of fly the flag for you is stuff you just can't buy. So for me, I'm extremely happy with it.
Well, before we get some more kind of reactions from everyone, I want to personally say, I don't know if you remember, I've done a review for Black Mass. It wasn't exactly the nicest. I have to say, and that's why I want to say it, is Walking Against the Rain was a massive, massive step up. And I absolutely loved what you did with this movie. That's why I wanted to reach out straight away, because I know what you creatives are like. You get a bit diva-ish, but no, I wanted to make sure that I let you know, like, it's a huge step up, and I loved this film, and I want more of this universe. So I wanted to just say that to your face.
On camera for record.
On camera for record.
There we go.
But what's everybody else been hearing about the film? What's the big takeaways?
I think on in terms of the themes that the characters are going through, people are really identified and kind of latched on to some of the struggles that they were going through. Not in everyday life, but in that given situation, people really, it connected on a deeper level in terms of if they found themselves in that situation, I think they would have gone down that route. That's what I've been hearing. Instead of, you're kind of walking dead, or you're this, I would have done this, I would have looked for, and it's not that reality. So they were grounded in that kind of realism of it. So I think that was a massive positive to take away from what people's reactions were.
That's it, and I think the other thing that was really notable was the fact that Scott wrote this 5 years ago, I think initially, and what everyone came away with was, this is a film about lockdown, right? This kind of hunt for human connection, where actually no, this was written sort of way before, and it was one of those kind of almost luck of, I mean, if you can kind of put luck towards what happened over the last couple of years, but it was really a case of actually the timing actually worked well for us for once, and for sort of everybody else. And I think that was something that sort of really shone through for us, where it was we managed to release a film that was written way before something so meaningful for a lot of people, and actually connected with people because of that. And I think that was a pretty big deal for us.
Absolutely.
I've been really chuffed with the feedback. I think on the whole it's been really positive. And I think people have connected, particularly because I know Scott's writing it's very sort of character driven, a lot about the narrative and the characters in the world. And a lot of people have mentioned about the resilience of the characters and the challenges they're facing. So I think for me, that was really nice to see that people resonated with that. And the themes of isolation as well. Again, I think people probably related to that with COVID as well. And So yeah, it's been positive, and I'm so happy like how we've managed to get this far, and I'm really chuffed. Yeah.
Wasn't exactly the easiest time to be making a movie.
No.
How was the process in terms of? I'll make it a three-part. Sort of like what was the trickiest thing you had to deal with? What was the most rewarding thing at the end of the day? What can I say for the third one? What did you all learn from making this?
I think starting off with like what was really tricky was as Chris said, when I originally wrote and we originally were about to go with this and do it, we were going to do this almost the beginning of 2020. Like we were at the beginning of 2020, we were out in Santa Monica with the people that were going to fund it, and as we're coming home from that trip, you just start seeing at the airports like stuff slowly, closing up, and then none of us really thought like, oh, okay, it's in China and it's we've heard this a few times. Yeah. It's not going to come over here. And then we were at the Starburst Film Festival with Black Mass, and that was like the Sunday that festival ended was like when everything was shut down. So for me and Chris, it just became this really real thing of like, okay, we're not making this film now. That the whole thing fell apart, funding fell apart, and we had to like completely build it up from the ground again. And then when we did get to do it in the summer of 2021, we were lucky that we're doing it in the UK. Mm-hmm. So the UK, they don't get a lot right, but they did on this occasion and put it in place in COVID insurance package. So if anything went wrong, we kind of would still get our money's worth. And then in terms of like just making sure that we managed COVID while we were shooting, because at our budget level and with a tiny crew that we had, if someone goes down, we're probably all going down, and then the whole thing is shot, right? And also like weirdly, you wouldn't think it, but like staying on top every day, one of Mel's jobs was staying on top of people doing their COVID tests.
Right.
And just making sure everyone's good to go at the start, and people are not ill, and we're feeling good about it. So yeah, that was like one of the early challenges, just to get the film up and running, get it into production really.
Yeah, I think one of the things to really consider about this film is the concept of lightning in a bottle, where we went in, as Scott said, we lost our original chain of funding, we had to strip it down. We were literally going into this where we had, what was it, how many days of filming, was it 15? If we have to go over, we were screwed. Yeah. And we were shooting, 90% outside in the Lake District, where it rains on the turn of a screw.
Well, it's England, isn't it?
Exactly. We managed to avoid COVID. We managed to avoid rain.
Yeah.
All the weather, all the various other aspects, and came out. Day 15. We got everything. Yeah. Good. We have. Yeah, we were in. And I think we both from production side realised how lucky we were actually to get this out. And I mean, we were so pleased to get it over the line. I mean, Sophia had been involved for, probably spoke to you about 2 years before we even kind of started thinking about this film. And Reese, who was in it, I had a conversation with Reese in a kitchen 5 years before the actual sort of first day, and it was just great to kind of have these people that have been in from the beginning, just loving the project.
Mm-hmm.
And we actually delivered. That's it. And everyone stayed true, and everyone that we spoke to initially, Mel, when did I interview you, Mel? I mean, that was about 5 years before. And it was just amazing to sort of see people kind of just buy into this project. It's like, no, we're going to get this made. Yeah. And we couldn't have done it without everyone sticking by us and actually kind of wanting to still do it, because there were opportunities where if someone wanted to say, do you know what, I'm out, we would have been, it's fine, don't worry. We get it, don't worry about it. Yeah. But they didn't, and we managed to actually get. And I said to you on the day one of filming, it's like, I can't believe we're here. It's like, this is legit happening.
Well, I'd say the last day.
Last
day was incredible.
Yeah.
We were in
tears.
this huge lake, huge mountains. The last day was really amazing.
Yeah, and it was just tantamount to everyone just being, again, the indie film community in horror particularly is amazing, and everyone just giving their time and just keeping it on the mantle of, as we have to keep feeding back, we can't do this because this is now happening and this has been delayed, but everyone stuck by us, and we, Scott in particular, managed to just drive this thing over the line, and here we are now doing a really successful festival run and talking to you, and it's done, and it's you know, it's been such a big tick for us in particular, and we're just really thankful for everyone that helped us get this over the line. I mean, we couldn't have done it without everybody in this film, and everyone was just absolutely amazing.
I kind of feel when you're at this point, sitting in a room with me, you've made it. So
well, that's what we think. There's at least 3 microphones in this room.
I was only reading that on the toilet wall before I
you lot hate me. So Johnny, tell us a little bit about your part in this film.
So I play the character of the old man. Oh, I got this term. It's James, isn't it? Yes, it's James. So I, coming towards the end of the movie, my character gets introduced at a pivotal moment with Sophia's character, where I can give spoilers away now, can I? Can I give? No, I can't. Oh no. This is the end of the festival.
DVD.
So there's a pivotal moment that I can't talk about that I come to the aid and assistance of Sophie's character, and I managed to get her back to where I'm living this very isolated life, and we have this very emotional and deeply connecting conversation about both our plights and the idea of how both characters are dealing with their own isolation and their own grief as well, and how they're trying to manage that in a world that essentially doesn't exist anymore. So and it was a fantastic scene to do, and it was very easy to work with Sophie in terms of the two-way street when you have a scene like that. But I don't want to say too much about it because you have to watch the scene.
Exactly.
I don't want to, suddenly I'll spoil something. But just to pick up what the lads were saying about, I came on to the shoot coming near the end of turnover time, and it was just wonderful, and I get such a buzz when I walk onto a set. People are 2 weeks, whatever, down the line, and I was in for 5 days, I think it was, something like that, 4 or 5 days for the end. But it's the resilience of that getting up at horrendous o'clock every morning, going home to even worse o'clock, and then getting up at horrendous o'clock to keep pushing forward. And that is the buzz and the love of indie filmmaking that you just adore. And to make something then that you're incredibly proud of, and all your counterparts in the film as well. It was just so fantastic to see that, and it was great to come in as a burst of energy just in the final few times.
I think we needed it.
Yeah.
Well, on that, and this for everyone sitting here, when you do watch it, and you've seen it on multiple occasions now, what is that one thing that stands out as the best thing that happened on set? Just, we nailed it, it looks amazing. What's the one thing you're proud of?
For me, I think the one that we all just went, yes, was that one take that we had with the car. There's a scene where I'm being attacked. Yeah. There's a car, and we had one take to get this right because we had one monster head.
Right, okay.
So we thought, we've got to do this. So I did struggle initially. That's probably why the scene was quite long. I couldn't actually smash the bloody head. So Scott made the wise decision of getting someone to say, just quickly move the head while she's trying to smash it, and I just to bring it out. But we did it. I slammed the door, slid down the car, and I was genuinely, I was so exhausted. I was so exhausted trying to get that head destroyed, and then I just started crying, didn't I? And then Scott went, cut, that was it, that was it. And I thought, oh great, we've done it. That was
As
it.
his perfectly shaped head was non-broken.
It was rather unfortunate for our costume designer though, Vicky, who was not pleased that all of the mango chutney and head and shoulders conditioner from the lovely splurge of the monster head got all over my costume.
Oh.
She thought, continuity, right.
Nothing takes you out of the glory of a scene well shot than a Brummy accent telling you for fuck's
I'm just going to hate you for calling no Brummy.
Yeah.
But yeah, we were really.
I I would say mine's the same scene for a slightly different reason. I mean,
Okay.
obviously that,
Yeah.
but Chris is, well, Mel knows, but Chris. So
Oh.
that car.
Yeah, that scene nearly didn't happen.
Nearly
It was
didn't.
within
Like,
5 minutes.
We
of
mean
not
like
happening.
within, that was final hours knocking. So we were waiting for, so where we're filming in the Lake District, there's no signal, there's none of this. So essentially our production designer has agreed to have this car in this position at a certain time. But it was really late at night, so me and Chris said, all right, well, we're going, we don't want to send her out there on her own. So we went out there to meet this guy. And he didn't show up. And an hour goes and he didn't show up. And an hour goes and he didn't show up. So we've got to drive all the way down to the village at the bottom of these hills, try and get some signal, work out what's going on, go all the way back up to go and meet him. Eventually we get it done. But we get it done in the time where now we've got to go back, get everyone up, go back to set. So the reason it's my proudest moment is it probably is a lot of people's favourite scene in the film. And I directed that being awake for 38 hours.
Nice.
So that was my...
Your marathon.
he won't like me saying this, but there was a point. So we were driving up to this place with no signal, sitting there in pitch dark, and because there was no lights, so we were there in a car in pitch dark. We had to drive back down this hill, as you said, to get signal. We drove past a car being dragged up a cliff. And it was like, well, that's got to be our car. So we've had to go back down, but we're driving down a mountain, so you can't just turn around. So we've got all the way down, driven back up, and just tried to find this car. Couldn't find it. And eventually, we just parked back up in the same spot. It was like 1:30 in the morning. Call time was 4 a.m. It's like we've got 2.5 hours before we go up. We just started giggling.
Yeah.
And it was just like, we're just sitting in a car in pitch dark, waiting for a car to be delivered, just giggling to each other. It's like, what is even happening?
Probably be my car.
Yeah. And I was like, I don't even like my car. We can smash it up. We can.
That wasn't the only car that got towed that day. Do you remember? We had one of our runners, his car, the tyre burst. So we had that
Two
happen.
tyres burst.
Two tyres, sorry.
Two of these tyres
Yeah.
Yeah, that was where my time was spent that day, driving back to get a
that
tow
day
truck.
was just so long.
Yeah.
It was,
And also the hottest day.
It
that
was
really-
boiling,
That
yeah.
was the hottest day.
But
Yeah.
it's just tantamount to, just kind of leaning on the hub of like, what do we do if we don't have this car? And we were like discussing in the car. It's like, okay, well, if we don't have the car, what we'll do is we'll go back to the barn, we'll do another scene in the barn, we'll be smashing up this same head. Because we had a head to smash, we needed to get
So
that.
we're literally at like 3 a.m. walking around these fields going, well, I guess I could rewrite it to be in this dodgy barn. It might fall apart while we're
Yeah,
there,
that's
and
right.
we can. But yeah, finally got
Kidding
it done.
ourselves, yeah.
Got
It
it
was
done.
worth it.
Yeah.
It really was. I mean, it's my...
But are those not the days that, like you say, when you're sat there in the cinema now, and it's like
Absolutely.
thinking about what you did that day?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Again, it's like the perfect storm of things. I mean, that
Yeah.
might not have happened, but again, everything landed for us when we needed it to.
Yeah.
And yeah, here we are.
Has everybody tried the cocktail?
No, not yet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you've had a few, haven't you?
I picked it
I
out by
walked in, got
accident.
dragged back in.
I didn't clock the title of the cocktail. What's that coming over
No.
the hill?
No spoilers.
And I was like, we're in the Lake District. I think they know there's hills. But yeah, it's proper tasty, very strong.
It is nice. It's nice. Do you get the reference with the fig as it's supposed to be the teeth of the
Oh,
monster?
really?
Oh, no, I didn't get that.
Apparently,
Right.
like, I think it's a stretch.
Yeah. Completely. Yeah.
On that though, the creation of your monsters.
Yeah.
Like, what was the inspiration for this, and what were you kind of drawn on for these?
So I'm a massive practical effects fan, so I knew I wanted to do. I mean, originally years and years and years ago, we were thinking about doing it just based on it's pretty cheap to do.
Yeah.
But it got to the point where it's like, no, let's try and get a bit more money and let's do what I really want to do, which is monsters. So we done that. And then it was just like the mythology of it, which isn't even really in the film, but for me it's like, okay, so where do these creatures kind of come from? It's like, well, what if they've kind of been living in the ground all this time, and then we kind of get to a kind of end times where they rise up out of the ground and do that. And then with Dan Martin, the guy that made the suits, we just got into this back and forth of, okay, well, how exactly would that look if they've been living underground, And there's little things that like you won't even notice if you're watching a film, but there's a slight difference in the shade of the colour on the front of the monsters to the back.
Right.
Because, you know, if they're like hunched over all the time and it would be a slightly different colour. The kind of groin plate they have is based on like beetles that just live underground, and the spikes on the back are based on certain
Love that.
crustaceans and that you would find underground. So it was all about kind of making that as realistic as we could to then also put a guy in a suit essentially at the end of the day, you know. So, but yeah, that's it was. We tried basing it as much as we could on something that would make sense in the mythology if you're someone that cared about the mythology, you know, wanting
Yep.
to dig a little bit deeper.
You know, all the geeks do. All the geeks do. We love it. We love it. I mean, you told me yesterday that we're definitely getting a sequel. So what's
I did not. I said nothing on this.
absolutely did, by the way.
There
Sequel,
is a realm and there is a world beyond.
sequel, graphic novel,
Novel.
game,
Yeah.
animation.
Yeah.
What else was it?
Figurines.
The figurine.
Graphic
Oh,
novel.
that's an idea.
Yeah.
That's an idea.
Yeah.
I like that. I
Yeah.
do like that. But what is the? Is there any intention to really push this one forward, or are we moving on to the next project?
So right now, moving on to the next project, it's purely a budget thing. If we're going back and we're going to do it a lot bigger.
Yep.
And yeah, it would explore that world a lot more. And there's no way we could do it on the same budget or even double the budget. Like Chris said, it's lightning in a bottle. We got what we did. So there is an idea of. Originally, I had an idea for what a trilogy would be out of this world. So again,
I like the fact that you get excited about how excited I'm getting.
there you go.
I'm excited. You're going, yeah, and you're going, yeah, he's into it.
Yeah, these same kind of conversations of like,
yeah. We actually had a conversation yesterday about. I thought that in the meantime, maybe a graphic novel spin-off with exploring maybe other characters throughout. You know, that we've seen, even Johnny's character
Exactly.
or Francesca's character, kind of where they were. You know, pre where you meet them in the film. And then I've always said to Chris that I think it would be a great little game that you can make a little game out of it. And then I'm a geek, so I'm an action figure collector anyway. So for me, it was at the very start. I was saying to Chris, like, we're going to do action figures. Out of this,
Brilliant.
and we're gonna,
I had to talk him down when I was like, you know, you could get your own Funko Pop.
Yeah.
That was it. Yeah.
Yeah, you can have like
push the
a
whole thing.
monster Funko Pop.
Oh,
they've
yeah,
got the Stranger Things ones, haven't they? So let's go for
Is
it.
that right?
Yeah, that'd sell.
do it. We
It'd
could
definitely
do it.
sell.
Yeah.
I'd be the one pushing it, but it's alright. What was everyone's worst day?
Oh, that was my worst day. Me basically breaking my ankle was not the worst day. That was
Oh,
good.
God.
It was a pretty. That was a pretty
bad
That was a
day.
pretty stressful day.
Yeah.
That was
Right.
what, second day into the shoot.
Yeah, second
Yeah.
day. Me telling everyone to mind all the holes
Yeah.
in the field, and then I go into it myself. So
That's good.
that wasn't a good idea.
I like that.
That was a pretty bad day.
Yeah, the day that so on as So said on our last day was our big last day where we had every member, cast and crew turning up for the big last day. I mean, we had some things that we'll go into later, I'm sure, about being tried to be shunted off for our last day and move it, and we costed it up, and it's, well, if that's going to happen, it's going to be 40-50 grand. And then we had a phone call and it was like, well, actually we can't get your makeup truck down there. And I was like, oh God, okay, so what are we going to do? We're literally going to be standing in a field, you know, trying to get Snow dressed. You know, James was playing our monster dressed in nothing, and having to try and rally round to try and find some spot of comfort in a house to just try and give people comfort.
Well,
It was
and
just
I
nuts.
remember, I think for me as well, that was the most difficult day.
It's nuts.
Because
It was an early,
it was a
early
really,
start.
really, it was like the earliest start we had, and we had to drive up in this like rickety van up all these narrow lanes in the middle of God knows where in the mountains. And I just remember Reese and I were feeling really sick.
Yeah.
We were both like, oh my God, like, we were feeling so car sick. I think I was just sick with exhaustion. And then by the time we got there, we were like, come on, like we were both looking at each other like, come on, we've got to snap out of it, like
Yeah.
wake up. You know, it's like the last day. I think that was my most difficult.
It was, and it was to the extent where, you know, we managed to figure out something, and it was basically the person who had rented us out this little cabin. They owned the farmhouse as well. It's like, well, the only place that you could possibly get is this farmhouse, but you know, it's tenanted, so you're going to have to speak to the tenant. And luckily, they were kind enough to give us their back room. But we turned up. I mean, we hadn't done a recce up there. We hadn't done anything. We didn't go in. Mel and I turned up at like 4 a.m. in the pitch dark. we've like turned up in this farm. It's like, where's the farmhouse? I don't know. And then Soap's turned up with Reese. It's like, so where do we go? It's like, give us a minute.
We didn't know where we were
I didn't know
going.
where we were going because it was dark and there were cows. And then we found this house and they let us in, and luckily we got everybody in. But I've never seen faces like Soaps and Reese that morning. We're just
Also relief.
yeah. I wouldn't say relief. I think nausea of death. It's like, it's 4 a.m. What the hell are we doing? But I mean, again, light in the bottle, right? I mean, it's like we got in.
Yeah.
These people didn't have to give us their phone. I don't even know what we would have done if they said no or we couldn't get in there, because we wouldn't have had anywhere to get people ready
Just
for
have an
a
easy up
really
and then
heavy day.
just sit underneath that and hope for the
Yeah,
best.
and then again, great people up north. You know, very,
We are.
very flexible. Very kind.
Wait, how north are we talking here?
Well, we were like Penrith.
That's not north.
So,
I'm on the border. That's
South
north.
Carlisle. Yeah, it's not,
South Carlisle's kind of north, I guess. Yeah, I guess there's not really much else to say other than let people know where they can find you, social media, what's going to happen with the movie next once the festival's done, where they can see it after that, all that good stuff.
So Viv,
Just
you wanna say where
promote
people can find you?
yourselves.
So I'm on Instagram at Sophia Eleni Official and Twitter at Sophia Eleni.
Nice.
And Twitter and Instagram too, just Scott Lyus, Lyus is my surname. In terms of where it's going, it's now currently out in America. We've got some American viewers, in Canada, across North America.
Nice.
That's across all VOD platforms, and if you're a physical media fan, you can get it on DVD and Blu-ray on Amazon. And we should have some news in the coming weeks about UK, Europe release and stuff.
Is that us?
That's us.
Johnny, where can we find you?
Johnny Vibash on Instagram and Twitter. Super simple, lowercase.
No, in case I just caught what you said. Caught what you said there, and I'm like, oh.
Yeah, like that.
So is everybody going down for a coming over the hill?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's do it. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you so much.
The end of the world at the palm of my hand.